Asmat Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Parama Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Sarva Gurubhyo Namaha. So we're continuing with our discussion of Hari Bhakti Vilas by Sanatan and Gopalbhata Goswamis. And we're in the 8th Vilas, the 8th chapter. And we just finished the external worship of Lord Krishna with the Gopal mantra. And we are now there are certain prayers that we offered at the end, and we offered ourselves as well. We are surrendering to the Lord. And so I think now there's a section on being forgiven for any seva aparads, any offenses or any mistakes that we've made with the worship. And let's see that section. So here we have the section is Ata Aparada Shamanam. So atonement, sometimes in Sanskrit we use the word prayaschitta. So what we should do, or how we should pray to get relief from any mistakes that we've made, so any offenses that we've made in the worship of the deity. So we'll start with text 475 to 477. And this is somewhat of a, we have these micro topics here. So each time a topic is introduced, we have the word ata. Ata aparada. Aparada means an offense. There's another word for offense, apachara. So aparada or apachara. Apachara means a wrong action. Aparada is just an offense in general. So here we have, so it says here, and we don't know where this is quoted from, but anyway, it says, an offender can become purified from his offenses by residing at Shokarya Tirtha, don't know exactly where that is, but it's some holy place, while completely fasting and bathing in the Ganges, so it must be on the bank of the Ganges, if this penance is performed within 1 year of the time of committing the offense. So if you know that you committed offense, within 1 year, you go to this place called Shokarya Tirtha and you fast and bathe in the Ganges. It doesn't say how long you have to fast for, so we're assuming it's just like 1 day or something like that. The same penance can be observed by residing at Mathura. We all know where Mathura is. That's the place of the birth of Lord Krishna, and it's a holy place near to Vrindavan in Uttar Pradesh in India. Anyone who engages in the service of the Supreme Lord while residing in these two holy places is certainly pious. In fact, all of his offenses that are accumulated during his previous 1,000 lifetimes can be atoned for in this way. So next, in the Skanda Purana, there's a statement. A person who recites a chapter of Bhagavad Gita every day will gradually become free from the effects of the 32 kinds of offenses. Now, we listed 32 offenses from the Varaha Purana previously in deity worship. So these are the very famous 32 offenses in deity worship. So we should all know those. So he says, chant a chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So if we just recite one chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the verses from Bhagavad Gita, every day, then we can continuously cleanse ourselves of these deity offenses. So next in the text 479, the Kartik Mahatmya, in the same literature, which means Skanda Purana, right? It also states, the Kartik Mahatmya is the glories of the month of Kartik, which is in October, November. It says that Lord Keshava forgives the 32 kinds of offenses, again talking about offenses in deity worship. Right, when a devotee worships the Shalagam Shila with offerings of tulsi leaves, naturally when we worship Shalagam, we offer tulsi leaves, right? And the Shalagam Shila we talked about in the 5th Vilas, we explained about these self-manifest forms of the Lord, which are these ammonite fossils that come from the Himalayas, from the Nepal region, near the river Gandaki, the holy river Gandaki. So, text 480. It's also in the same, elsewhere in the same literature, again, Skanda Purana, it says, Lord Keshava certainly forgives the 32 types of offenses when a devotee remains awake during the night of Dwadasi. and recites prayers in glorification of Tulsi. Okay, so Dwadasi is the 12th day of the moon, both waning and waxing, right? And later on, in Hari Bhakti Vilasa, we're going to be explaining about the different vows or the different vratas that one can take up on Ekadasi. One of them includes 3 days, right? So it's actually said the Ekadasi fast is supposed to be 3 nights fasting. So, which means that you only eat one time on the Dasani, you only eat one time on the Dwadasi, means the 10th day and the 12th day, you only eat one time. And then on Ekadasi itself, you don't eat at all. You fast completely. So that's why sometimes people refer to Ekadasi fasting as 3 nights fasting. So it means you eat, but you don't eat at night. So you eat one time a day. The original system for people eating, according to the Vedic culture, Vedic civilization, was 2 meals a day, not 3 meals a day. So there were 2 meals. So I guess sort of like a brunch, a big meal after performing puja in the morning, which might, in South India, they still sort of follow this. You see all the restaurants start serving lunch at about 10:30, and everybody in their houses, they start around 10:30 in the morning. So everybody got up early in the morning during Brahma Muhurta, maybe an hour and a half before or so before sunrise, and they've done different religious, they've done their sadhanas, they've done their different nitya, naimittika kriyas, their daily and occasional rituals, right, like Sandhya Vandanam and whatever else they have to do that day, and then puja. And then after puja, of course, is the time when we honor prasadam, when we take food. So we can't take food before puja because we have to offer the food to the Lord in worship, and then only it becomes sanctified and we could take it, we could honor it after that. So normally around 10:30 or maybe 10:30 to 12, people take this first meal, which is lunch. So this is a good time to take it because when the sun is at noon, when the sun is at the highest point, or when the sun is very strong, that's also when the fire of digestion is also the most strong in the human body. So it's good for health. It's good to keep away diseases and everything if we eat a big meal at that time. Then the next time would be later on in the day, in the evening, in the afternoon or evening. There's another time when people will take some food. So this is the original system: 2 times eating. Okay, so on these days of vrata, the Ekadasi vrata, there's 1 time eating on the 10th day, 1 time eating on the 12th day, and in the middle, complete fasting on the Ekadasi. So the meal on the 10th day can be in the middle of the day. The meal on the 12th day sometimes has to come quite early because of certain rules, which we'll learn when we get to the explanation of Ekadasi Vrata. Okay, so anyway, we'll leave that from here. But anyway, the point here was saying that the other thing that people do on the Ekadasi Vrata is they stay up all night. They don't sleep. And they continuously praise the Supreme Lord, either by chanting His holy name or by reading scriptures or whatever it is, doing meditating upon the Lord. But anyhow, they don't sleep. So this idea of not sleeping is actually much harder than not eating. So here it's saying if you remain awake on the night of Dwadasi, if it's the lunar day of Dwadasi, and you remain awake and you recite prayers glorifying Tulsi, then that's also a way to get rid of offenses. So it says here, Lord Keshava, the next verse, 481, Lord Keshava forgives thousands of offenses when a devotee decorates his body with the symbols of Krishna's weapons. So very commonly, it's especially most common for Vaishnavas of the Madhva Sampradaya, when they put on Vaishnava tilak on the 12 places or 13 places on the upper body, they also put next to those places, they stamp with tilak, they stamp or gopi chandana, or they stamp markings of these different weapons of the Lord. So the Lord has symbols. These symbols are weapons that he has: the conch, the discus, the mace, the club, and the lotus flower. So they'll put those in different places. There's also a fifth symbol which the mothers use, which is called namocharna, or the symbol which symbolizes the holy 8-syllable mantra Om Namo Narayanaya. So they'll also put Om Namo Narayanaya next to each one of those symbols. So this is according to this system of marking different things on the body, symbols of Vishnu and the name of the Lord, is there in the Puranas. So there's, I think, Skanda Purana or Padma Purana. There's a place in the Puranas where they found an explanation of how to do this, and I do have a chart which shows a person sitting and the different places where the different symbols are to be put on the body. Now, that's the Madhva Sampradaya. Now, in other Sampradayas, they tend to not do this as much, or the emphasis isn't on this as much. So in Gaudiya Sampradaya, people sometimes they do stamp these things on the body. In the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, of course, as in the Madhva Sampradaya, they do branding on the shoulders with the symbols of Vishnu, just the conch and the disc, right? And this is done every year in the Madhva Sampradaya, but this is just done at the time of initiation in the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. Okay, so all Vaishnavas agree that the symbols of Vishnu are a good thing to decorate the body with, right? Purifies the body to have the symbols of Vishnu on one's body. And also it keeps away Lord Yamaraj. And it keeps the Yamadutas away because Yamaraj has told his servants to watch for people who are wearing tulsi beads or wearing lotus seed beads. The lotus seed beads, the tulsi beads, of course, are sacred to Vishnu, and the lotus seed beads are sacred to Vishnu's consort Lakshmi. And so those persons who are wearing those on the neck and the chest, right? Those persons who wear the Urdhva Pundra, the vertical type tilak, not the horizontal Shaiva tilak, but the vertical type Vishnu tilak, and those persons who also decorate their body with the different symbols of Vishnu, these people are to be left alone by the Yamadutas. Okay, so
one second. I just wanted to say that one of my friends who spent some time in Mayapur, he said that the Gaudiyas used to also use a lot of stamps, and he collected a whole bunch of different old ones. He gave me this one, but he said that it was common for them to also use a lot of stamps.
You have a stamp of what?
I don't know what that says. I don't remember. He gave it to me a long time ago.
Says, yeah, I'd have to swap that around and see what it says, but it looks like it's a mantra like Radhe Krishna or something like that, or something, Sri Krishna Namaha or something, whatever it is. I have a lot of stamps also. I have also stamps. I have stamps for stamping the actual tilak on your head. I have a stamp which is the whole Hare Krishna Maha mantra. I have another stamp. I have stamps which are cows, which are peacocks. I have all sorts of different stamps. I have stamps which are not just the symbols of Vishnu. So there's other stamps that you can get. So indeed, there are different stamps that you can get, and definitely ones with different mantras like Hare Krishna and Om Namo Narayanaya, and Radhe Radhe or whatever. There's many stamps. Okay. So the point is now, just to finish my point about Yamadutas, these keep away the Yamadutas. Yamaraj has actually spoken this verse in the Vishnu Purana to tell people, the Yamadutas, to stay away from people who have these different markings of tilak, tulsi beads or lotus seed beads, and stamps of different symbols of Vishnu. He says, Ye kanta lagna tulasi nananakshamala, ye bahumula parichimhita sankachakra. Ye valalata palate likidud vapundra te vaishnavaha bhuvanam asupavitriyanti. These people are Vaishnavas, and they should be. You should leave them alone. Okay, so that's the point being mentioned here. Here it's saying that just by doing this, we rid ourselves of the offenses, of certain offenses. So now, finishing that small section, we come to another small section now, accepting the remnants of the Lord. What is offered to the Lord, even if, especially foodstuffs, is accepted as the prasadam of the Lord. The word prasadam means mercy, and we can take the Lord's foodstuffs as prasadam, and we can take other things that the Lord has used and accepted as also as prasadam. In fact, when we want something, we want to first of all offer it to the Lord and then take it as prasadam. So, it says here, 482, Ata Shesha Grahanam. Now, the word Shesha means what's left over. There's different meanings for the word Shesha, okay? But Shesha, in this sense, means what's left over, right? What is, after the Lord enjoys something, what is left over? After he enjoys a flower, after he enjoys some foodstuffs, what is left over? So, again, accepting the Lord's remnants, it says here, thereafter, while thinking that the Lord has mercifully given him his remnants, one should chant the word Mahaprasada. Chant the word Mahaprasada. Now we have here we have two in the third line of the sloka. We have here iti and uktva. Iti means thus. Whenever you see iti, it means the statement that came before it should be said out loud, right? And uktva is confirming this because it means to say. Okay, so here the translator said one should say the word Mahaprasada while touching the prasada to his head. Shesham is the leftovers of the Lord. Shirasi is the head. Dariyat. Dariyat can mean touching, or it can mean carrying on one's head, or placing on one's head. So if we place it on our head or touch it to our head, right? So this is the way to accept the Lord's prasadam, by placing it to our head, because it's non-different from the Lord. It's the Lord's mercy, and therefore we bow our heads to it and we surrender unto it, just because it's non-different from the Lord. So now, text 483, again, another micro topic here, beginning with Ata, Niyamalya Dharana Nityata, the eternal duty of accepting or on one's head or carrying. Dharana means to carry, right? Nirmalya. Nirmalya is usually the word mala, of course, means a garland. So nirmalya usually means the leftover flowers or garlands, right? When we go into the deity room in the morning and we wake up the Lord, there's sandalwood paste, there's tulsi leaves, there's flowers that have been on the deity, and they have to be removed. Those things have to be removed before a certain time, otherwise it's considered sinful, and different atonements have to be done according to the time that you leave those things on the deity for the next day. Okay, they have to be, because they've faded. The flowers have faded. The flowers are no longer fresh. They have to be taken away. So in the Padma Purana, there's a discussion between Gautama and Maharaj Ambarish, King Ambarish, and here's what they say about that. O Ambarish, one who does not honor the Lord Hari's remnants, such as water that has washed his lotus feet, the flowers and sandalwood paste that were offered to him, is certainly lower than a dog eater. Okay, so this is sort of a mahatmyam here. We're going to get a mahatmyam in the next verse, right? A mahatmyam means a glorification of this particular activity. Here, it's first of all in a negative way. He's saying if you don't accept the water, which is the charnamrita, which is given, that the water that's washed the Lord's lotus feet or his body during Abhishekam, during the worship of the Lord. If you don't accept flowers that have been offered to the Lord, that are remnants of, if you don't accept the sandalwood paste that was also offered to the Lord, and if you don't accept it as his mercy and honor it, then you're considered to be lower than a dog eater. Text 484, here we're going to now glorify those remnants. Those shesha, they're called shesha, or they're called nirmalya. Right, so leftovers or faded garlands and flowers. Okay, so in the Skanda Purana, in the conversation between Narada and Brahma, there's a statement. O sage, One who touches the Lord's remnants to his body after removing them from the deity is cured from all diseases and relieved of all sinful reactions. Text 485. All sinful reactions and illnesses of a person become destroyed when he smears the remnants of the Lord Vishnu over his body. Right, so the word he's using the word smeared, so it could refer to the sandalwood paste. You know, we put the sandalwood paste on our head. You know, in South India, sometimes if you go into the temples, they'll do a thing they'll honor certain devotees will be honored, and this honor system of honoring a particular person with giving them different remnants. We're used to it. It's an honor that when we go and see the deity, we're offered the water from washing his feet, the charanamrita, and we're offered some flowers, or we're offered some remnants of the deity. This is an honor that we get. So sometimes this honor is done in a very ritualistic way, which is called a maryada. Maryada also means honor. It can also mean pride. Anyway, honor. And so sometimes when people go, they go, and I've experienced this. You go to the temple and you're wearing your chadar around your waist like that, so you're stripped to the waist like that, and you fold your hands in front of the deity like that, bow your head. They will take an old garland of the deity, they'll place it on your shoulders like that. Even some old cloth that the deity has worn is made into a type of garland which they place over your neck, around your neck with the garland like that. Then they'll offer you charanamrita to sip, and they'll touch the deity's shoes to your head, called the setari, like that. After which they'll give you liquid sandalwood paste in your hands. So you open up your hands and cup your hands like this, and they'll fill a whole handful of liquid sandalwood paste on there. Now, because it's very hot in those places like that, usually what the thing to do with it for men is to smear it all over your chest and upper arms like that. And then it evaporates, and it's very cool like that. If you want to give it to other people, they can also take some like that, and they can also smear it on. The men can smear it on their upper chest and arms. The ladies usually take it and they put a little bit on the neck, because obviously the ladies are wearing blouses. They can't smear it on their chest or anything, but they can put it on the neck like that. So that's the place. That's a system in South India like that, and involves a lot of liquid sandalwood paste which is given out. Okay, so that's the system. Right, so now here it says all sinful reactions and illnesses of a person become destroyed when he smears the remnants of Lord Vishnu over his body. The contamination of Kali, this age of quarrel and discord, it's the Iron Age, right, cannot affect the person who touches Lord Vishnu's remnants to his head, mouth, or other parts of his body after removing them, means upper body, right, after removing them from the deity. O sage, I have revealed this to you for your benefit. Right. So then it's also stated in text 487 to 488, O foremost Brahmana, all the sinful reactions that one may have accumulated during the previous 4 yugas are immediately nullified when one touches the sanctified remnants of Lord Vishnu to his head. There is no need for a person who is accustomed to touching to his head tulsi leaves that have been offered to Lord Vishnu to bathe in the Ganges. So normally people go and they bathe in the Ganges or other holy rivers in order to wash away their sins, right? It's not only physical washing, but it's a ritualistic washing. It's a spiritual type of cleansing. But here what it's saying is if you touch the Lord's prasadam to your body, right, this is also as purifying as taking bath in a holy river like the Ganges. Text 489 to 490. There's no limit to the pious merit that is earned by a person who accepts a tulsi leaf that remained day and night on the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. No sin can contaminate a person whose head is adorned with a tulsi leaf that is offered to Lord Vishnu. Just as water cannot remain on the lotus leaf, right? So because of the coating on the leaf of certain plants like the lotus leaf, when you put drop water on it, the water beads up and falls off. The water doesn't penetrate the lotus leaf. right? So it just falls off. You know, like we have a saying in English, like water off a duck's back. So when water comes on the duck's back, it just goes off. Okay, so different people do different things with the tulsi leaves like that. In the Madhva Sampradaya, it's very common to take tulsi manjaris that have been offered to the deity in the puja and put them inside your ears. On top of the ears, but also just curled inside the ears, like that, sticking out from the ears, like that. Some people find this to be very strange, like that. So one time I had tulsi leaves coming out of my ears, and I was in Mayapur, and people couldn't understand, what are you doing? I said, well, this is the way South Indian Vaishnavas, the Madhva Sampradaya people do this. This is a way of touching the Lord's remnants to your head. So text 491, one who honors with heartfelt devotion a tulsi leaf that fell from the head of Lord Vishnu will come to experience that all his desires have been fulfilled. So here we, Vishnu Sirsa. Okay, so there are leaves. We can also offer leaves to the head of the Lord too, not just his feet. So that's an interesting point. So again, it is said in text 492, O Brahmana, the body of a Vaishnava who places the remnants of tulsi leaves on his body becomes as sanctified as the holy places of pilgrimage. Now, some people I've heard, some people have challenged me sometimes in ISKCON. They say, "Oh, you can't wear a tulsi garland. Only Vishnu can wear a tulsi garland." But if a garland of tulsi is offered to the Lord, it becomes prasadam, and then you can wear it. There's nothing wrong with wearing a garland of tulsi after it's been offered to the Lord. So, text 493 from the Garuda Purana, it mentions Vaishnavas who honor the tulsi wood paste. Remember, we talked about, now here it says here very distinctly in the second line of the verse, tulsi kasta means the stick or wood, right? Chandaram means the paste made from tulsi sticks, right? Just as we use make the paste from the actual sandalwood tree, right? We can also make from tulsi tree. And other remnants of the Lord obtain the merit of visiting 10 million holy places of pilgrimage. In Narada Pancharatra, it's mentioned, simply by honoring a tulsi leaf that has been offered along with food to Lord Vishnu, one becomes freed from all sinful reactions and obtains more merit than he would by observing 100 Chandrayana Vratas. And I think I've described what a Chandrayana Vrata is before, but just to say it again, you either start on the new moon or the full moon day. If you start on the full moon day, and then the waning fortnight every day, you eat 15 handfuls or 15 mouthfuls of food on the first day, on the Purnima, on the full moon. And then the next day after that, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. On the new moon day, you fast completely. And on the next day, you again start eating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, up to again the Purnima, when you take 15 handfuls or 15 mouthfuls of food. Okay, that is called Chandrayana fasting. It means fasting according to the phase of the moon. Chandra Ayana, how the moon goes. Just how the moon goes, we follow how the moon goes in our fasting. When the moon is brighter, we eat more. When the moon is less, we eat less. Okay. And you can either start it from the Purnima or the Amavasya, but usually people start from the Purnima, the full moon, and then they decrease and then they increase again. Whereas some people might start from from fasts completely on one day and then work up to the full moon, from Amavasya to Purnima, and then down in the waxing phase, and then again the waning phase secondly. No, so that's thing. This is because some people follow what's called an Amanta, and some people follow a Purnamanta system of lunar calendar. So in the lunar calendar, the lunar month starts on the first day of the month. The first day of the month is either the first day after the full moon or the first day after the new moon, right? The first day after the full moon is the first day of the waning 2 weeks, the waning paksha, the waning fortnight of the moon. the first day after the new moon or the Amavasya is the first day of the waxing half of the moon of the month. So some people, like Gaudiya Vaishnavas, tend to use a lunar calendar which ends in Purnima. The last day of the month is the full moon. So the first day of the next month is the first day after the full moon. That is called Purnamanta. Anta means end in Sanskrit. So Purnamanta means ending in Purnima. So they follow a lunar calendar which is called Purnamanta, which means that all the months of the year end in Purnima, end in the, and this is because Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they celebrate the beginning of their year as the date of Lord Chaitanya's appearance, and Lord Chaitanya appeared on a full moon. So the next day after Gaura Purnima, or the appearance of Lord Chaitanya, is the first day of the next Gaudiya Vaishnava year. Okay, so, but for other people in different parts of India, in different states of India, they follow either a Purnamanta or an Amanta. Amanta people, they follow the day after the new moon. The day after the new moon is the first day of the month, not the day after the new moon. So they have Amanta. Amanta or Amavasyanta means the Amavasya or the new moon is the last day of the month. So that tends to be more traditional, like that, and because the first half of the month therefore will be waxing, and the second half will be waning, right? So and Purnima or the full moon will be in the middle of the month. So that's just depending on which system you follow, like that. But normally the waxing phase of the moon, the waxing fortnight from the Amavasya to the Purnima, right, from the new moon to the full moon, that is when the moon gets fuller and fuller every night. That is considered more auspicious, and the waning fortnight is considered less auspicious. Usually we perform Shraddha ceremonies or ceremonies that have to do with the ancestors, which are not considered to be as auspicious as the other type of ceremonies which are performed for our people in our lives today, who are living, right? In terms of samskaras, we do what's called purva and apara samskaras. So the purva samskaras have to do between garbhadana, between conception and death, right? All throughout life. And then the apara samskaras are after death, continuing after death, what ceremonies we do after death for a person. And so those are all shraddhas and different types of shraddhas, different types of worship of the ancestors. Okay, so those are usually done in the waning fortnight of the month, whereas the others are done in the waxing fortnight of the month. Okay, I think that's pretty obvious. Okay, so the reason for that aside was about the mention here of Chandrayana fasting, or Chandrayana Vrata. So continuing on, elsewhere it's stated, O goddess, listen to this wonderful statement. Any sin, even the killing of a Brahmin, can be burnt to ashes in the fire of the Lord's remnants. So we consider the Lord's remnants, honoring the Lord's remnants to be a type of fire that burns up the sins, burns up any other sort of sin. So now it says here that in text 496, it's quoting from Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto, 6th chapter, 46th verse. Uddhava says to the Supreme Lord, simply by decorating ourselves with garlands, fragrant oils, clothes, and ornaments that you, the Supreme Lord, have already enjoyed, and by eating the remnants of your meals, right, the prasadam, we, your servants, will indeed conquer your illusory energy. So that's direct statement from Srimad Bhagavatam. Next, it says from Skanda Purana again, Yamaraj has spoken this verse, while chastising his messengers, the Yamadutas, and he has said, Parodaka rata ye cha, hare nirmalya dharakaha, Vishnu bhakti rata ye vai, te tu tyaja sudhurataha. Iti. Right. So this is actually a verse that Yamaraj spoke to Yamadutas. You should never arrest and bring to me those who are attached to the water that washed Lord Vishnu's lotus feet, who honor Lord Hari's remnants, and who are attached to the Lord's devotional service, because they are not under my jurisdiction. Okay? All right, so now that that's all over, the next part here is going to talk about Visarjana. Visarjana in English means valediction. It means bidding farewell to the deity. In the beginning of this, in the beginning of the external worship, first of all, we worship the Lord within the heart, right? And then we worship the Lord externally in the deity. So the idea is to meditate on the Lord within the heart, expanding and entering into the external deity, and then worshiping the Lord in that external deity. At the end of the external worship, the Lord again either goes back to Vaikuntha, or goes back to Svetadweep, or goes back to wherever he came from, right? In this case, from the heart of the devotee, the devotee then again thinks that the Lord goes back and resides within his heart, like that. Not that the Lord leaves his heart, but he expands from his heart and enters the deity and is worshiping the external deity, and then again contracts within the heart of the devotee. So this is called Visarjana. Visarjana means bidding farewell to the Lord. It is based upon also the paradigm that we have for it is in the Sandhya Vandanam, where we 3 times a day we're chanting the Gayatri mantra. We invoke Gayatri Devi. We invoke the Gayatri mantra. We invoke the Supreme Lord, the Surya Narayana, who is the God of the Gayatri mantra. We invoke Gayatri Devi to come to us, right? Ayatu Varada Devi Aksharam Brahma Samhitam Gayatrim Chandasam Matedam Brahma Shuja Svunaha Ojoshi Sahosi Balamasi Brajosi Devanam Damanamasi Vishmasi Vishnu Savamasi Savyu Abhibur Om Gayatrim Avahyami Savitrim Avahyami Sarasatrim Avahyami. We call her to come. Avahyami means I invoke you. I ask you to come. I pray to you to come, right? To come and be present, right, while I meditate upon you. Okay, so at the end we say Uttame Shikare Devi Bhumyam Parvata Muddani Brahmanebhyo Yunugyanam Gacha Devi Yata Sukam. So with happiness, Yata Sukam, Gacha Devi, oh Devi, please now go. You can now go. Uttare Shikare Devi, you can go to your mountaintop where you live, and you can go back there. Gayatri Devi lives on a mountaintop. Okay, so the Supreme Lord goes back to the heart of the devotee. This is called Visarjanam. Visarjanam. Now, some people, they don't do the Visarjanam. They don't want the Lord to leave. If you don't do the Visarjanam in a movable deity, Chalamurti, a deity which is not permanently installed, right? And which we know there's 2 types of deities. There's Chala and Achala. This is going to be explained in the 19th Vilasa of Hari Bhakti Vilasa, which is about installation of the deity. That a movable deity is installed and is worshipped, but then the valediction or the Visarjana is done at the end of the worship, and the Lord goes back to his own abode, or is contracted within the large deity, the immovable deity in the temple, or within the devotee's heart at the end of the worship. Whereas for the deity that is in the temple, which is fixed to the ground, fixed to the pitika, fixed to the pitam, fixed to the altar, right? Like that, and is immovable. For that deity, we can permanently install the Lord there and ask him to remain forever. And so in that case, we don't need to do this Visarjana, right? Or it may be done in a slightly different way. Anyway, so if one has to immerse a deity, right? Now he has translated the word Visarjana as immersion. Sometimes when we have a deity which is made of a temporary type of substance, like a clay deity, that clay deity will deteriorate over time. So we don't keep that deity. We make a clay deity or a mud deity, and we invoke the Lord to accept worship in that deity. We do a vahanam of the Lord in that deity. Then afterwards, we're going to get rid of that deity, because that we're going to, first of all, validate the Lord and ask the Lord to leave that deity form. Then we're going to immerse that form in water, and that form will be dissolved. Okay? because ultimately it'll get some fault. It'll break or it'll wear down or something because it's not made of permanent sort of material. And this is the point. We have deities like this. We have to do that, right? Otherwise, when we have even stone deities or even metal deities, where we could permanently install the Lord if we wanted to, still there's a possibility that we have to sometimes renovate that deity like that. And so when we do that, which is usually done once every 12 years, it's called a kumbhabhishekam or some prokshanam. When we do that, then we have to do what's called Shakti Akarshana of the deity. We have to invoke the Lord from the deity, and we keep the Lord and worship the Lord within a pot called a kumbha or a gata or a kalasha, and then in the yagashala, and then afterwards we reinstall the deity from that pot. Okay, so that is that. So, but anyhow, here he's used the word immerse because it's common in India when we have these deities which are made out of clay material, that they immerse them in the sea or they immerse them in a river, in a body of water. Okay, so we won't take the word immerse to be correct. What it actually is valediction. It is bidding farewell. So we're bidding the Lord farewell. So whatever we do with that deity, if that deity form can be used again, if that deity is an immovable deity made of metal or something like that, or wood, then we can use that deity again, and we can just invoke the Lord again to reside within that perfect deity form. So we don't have to do this avahanam visarjanam for Shalagram, because Shalagram and other Shila Murtis like the Dwarka Shila, Govardhan Shila are considered non-different from the Lord, and therefore we don't have to invoke the Lord. We don't have to. The Lord is everywhere anyway. He's all pervasive. Lord Vishnu is all pervasive. So he resides everywhere within every atom. But the installation of the avahanam is making a prayer that he will accept worship through that particular form. Right. So and there's a prayer which Sri Vaishnavas use. They pray to the eternal associates of the Lord in Vaikuntham, that you're always looking after the Lord, you're always serving him. So now I want to serve him. So please hand the service of the Lord over to me, the personal service over to me for this time. And then at the end of the worship, we say, again, you can now continue your service like that. Of course, this service is always going on even when we're doing our service, but we just meditate in that way, that his personal service is handed to us and then we hand it back to them, like a changing of the guards. Okay, so if one has to immerse the deity, then one should first take off all the cloth and ornaments that were on the deity, right? And then immerse the deity within one's heart. Now, see, you get the idea when he first uses the word immerse, that he's going to immerse the deity in water. That's true. The physical form of the deity, if it's made of clay, will be immersed in water, so it'll break down like that. But the actual deity, the actual Supreme Lord, is not discarded in water. That actual deity of the Lord is then taken within one's heart again, after displaying the Visarjani Mudra. So I'm not sure about the Visarjani Mudra. We may have to look in the commentary to see exactly how the Visarjana Mudra is shown, right? So normally, though, when we're doing installation, we have two mudras. We have the Shristi and the Samhara Mudra. So the Samhara Mudra is like this, 4 fingers together with the middle finger raised. And then the Shristi mudra is like this, with the Tarjani or the cursing or blaming finger, what we call the index finger, straight up like that. That is for creation, and that is for destruction, right? So the index finger straight up for creation, the middle finger straight up for destruction. Okay, so this is here we're talking about the Sajjani Mudra. It may not be the same as the Samhara Mudra, but we do use it in of course in different Samhitas. There may be slightly different mudras, and here the Gaudiya mudras may be slightly different from the ones that I know from the Padma Samhita of the Pancharatra Agama. But in Padma Samhita, this is Samhara Mudra, this is Shristi Mudra. The middle finger is Samhara Mudra, the index finger is Shristi Mudra. Okay, so anyway, that's finished. So at the end, we valedict the Lord. We thank him for for coming and for accepting our worship, good or bad, and we hope that we didn't make too many offenses. And then we valedict him. We say, please, we bid him a good farewell. We bid him farewell. And think that he goes back into our heart. So now, so the way to do that is first show the mudra, and then any mantras or any actions should be done after first showing a mudra. So whenever you see mudras, it'll say, do the mudra first, then do the action, and chant the mantra. So here it is also said, right, regarding this, one should pray in this way. So this is actually a prayer that we can say, Pujitosi Maya Bhaktya Bhagavan Kamala Pate Sa Lakshmiko Mama Swantam Visha Vishwanti Hetave. Okay, so that means, oh my Lord, I have worshipped you and Goddess Lakshmi with devotion. O husband of Kamala, Kamala means the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, please enter my heart and rest there. Nice. So after praying in this way, one should offer shoes to the Lord, right? Because whenever the Lord is going anywhere, when he's going from the deity back to your heart, he needs shoes to wear to go on his journey. So it's a very personal offering to the Lord. In the puja, I've described before that we have a system of sadasanas, or 6 different places where we worship the Lord. This is in Pancharatra Agama in general. It's not described normally in Gaudiya worship like that. But we can break down the ritual worship of the deity into 6 sections. They are Mantrasana, which is the initial welcome of the Lord. Snanasana, when we bathe the Lord. Alankarasana, after we bathe the Lord, where we decorate the Lord and dress the Lord. Mantrasana, Snanasana, Alankarasana. Bhojasana, where we offer foodstuffs to the Lord. Purnamantrasana, where we again offer prayers to the Lord. And finally at night, the 6th one is called Payankasana or Sayanasana, where we lay the Lord down so that he can sleep. Right. So these are the 6 sections of worship according to Pancharatra. And we follow all these things. Also in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, it's also followed like that, but it's just not necessarily delineated in those 6 ways. So whenever the Lord has to go, he's considered like a great king in a temple or a very honored house guest in the house when we do worship, depending on whether we're doing Rajupachara, which means kingly worship or temple worship, or we're doing simply our Griha-archana, the worship in the householder's house in the puja room, right? So that depends on the mentality. The place where we're doing the worship depends on the mentality of the person doing the worship. Also, the pujari or the archika in the temple is doing worship not only for himself, but also for the people in the community around him, for everybody else. Whereas the person in the house is doing for only the benefit of his family and his himself personally. So here it says, after praying in this way, one should offer shoes to the Lord, right? And then immerse him along with his associates in one's heart, because the associates will also go with the Lord. Wherever the Lord goes, Lakshmi goes, the different associates. So in the same way, wherever Krishna goes, Radha goes, the gopis go, the cowherd boys go, Krishna's parents go, the cows go, all of the associates and paraphernalia of the Lord all accompany him wherever he goes. So we should meditate like that. Right? And then so this idea of offering the shoes whenever the Lord goes from one, so when he goes to the mantrasana, he needs shoes. When he goes to the snanasana, when he goes to the alankarasana, when he goes to the bhojasana, when he goes to the purnamantrasana, when he goes to shayanasana, at each time we should offer shoes. It's very important to offer shoes. Okay, so then the offering of shoes, normally you can show a mudra, you can indicate to the Lord to come along with you. You can show the shoes of the Lord, and you could say, Om Bhagavat Padukabhyam Namaha. Offer respects to the Lord's shoes. Om Bhagavat Padukabhyam Namaha, and then offer them to the Lord. Like that. Okay, so then continuing on, it says here, along with his associates, after performing the appropriate pranayam, saranganyasa, and displaying the Visarjani mudra. Okay, so we mentioned here display of the Visarjani mudra. We mentioned the prayer to be done. We also now are told that we have to first of all perform pranayamaha, certain type of pranayamaha, and saranganyasaha. So when it says an appropriate pranayamaha, right? In the verse here, it just says pranayamaha. So that pranayamaha can be Vedic pranayamaha, which is done with the Dirgha Gayatri mantra. Om Bhuva, Om Bhavaha, Om Subaha, Om Maha, Om Janaha, Om Tapaha, Om Satyam, Om Tatsavare, In Yambargode, Vasidini, Dioyana, Patoria, Ate, Om Apoto, Tivasamam, Brahmapod, Bhavasuvarom. Right? That can be used. Or one can do what we call that's a Vedic pranayama, or you can do a tantric or an agamic pranayama by using a Bij mantra or by using another mantra. So, for instance, the Sri Vaishnavas, they do Astakshara pranayamaha, where they use the Astakshara mantra Om Namo Narayanaya for pranayamaha. In this case, because we're using the Gopal mantra, we can either use the Gopal mantra in its entirety for the pranayama, which we've also already described in the fifth Vilasa. So if you want to see that, you can go back to the video that was before that about in the fifth Vilasa, where we talked about Klimbija pranayama and Gopal mantra pranayama, right? Yeah. So Gopal mantra can be used in its entirety, or one could also use a mula mantra of another deity, right? Or one could also use the Klim Bij itself, just the Bij mantras to do the pranayamaha, in which case you count the number of times, you count a certain number of times for inhaling, holding, and exhaling, right? Which is called Puraka, Kumbhaka, and Rechaka, right? For the different type of pranayama. So you either do Vedic pranayama or some sort of agamic pranayam, either the full mantra or the Bija mantra. Right. So in this case, it could be Kama Bij pranayam, Klim Bij pranayam, Klim, chanting. Then Saranganyasa. The Saranganyasa is again going to be with the Mula mantra used to worship the deity. So in this case, it's going to be either the 5 or the 6 type of nyasa. Here he's saying Saranganyasa. So he's indicating six places on the upper body where the nyasa is done. And Saranganyasa, we all know, is done Hriya Namaha Sirse Swaha Shikha Vasate Kavachaya Hum Netrabim Vosate Narayana Vivad Swapte and Burvasa Vahadi Bandaha, like that. So those are the basic mantras, and we add the different parts of the Mula mantra to them. So you can either do the version of 5 parts, or the version of 6 parts here, and that should be done as well at that time. Okay, so this is more or less the end of the external worship, where we do the valediction, we do the visarjana of the deity, and we finish off with the pranayamaha and saranganyasa again. This is very common, even with japa or with homa or with any ritual that we perform. Right, in South India, the smartas, they'll always start everything with pranayama and nyasa, both karanyasa on the hands and anganyasa on the body, right? And then they'll also finish by doing the same thing. They'll finish by doing the same thing. The only slight difference is that when we do the starting saranganyasa, right, there's a digbandha. We close the directions around us with like a force field, mantric force field around us to protect us from outside influences. At the end, when we do the saranganyasa, at the end, we have to do not a digbandha, not a binding or a closing of the directions, but we have to do a digvimokaha. A digvimokaha means an opening of the directions, because we're finishing the ritualistic worship. So the difference is the initial saranganyasa will be Priya Namaha, Sirse Swaha, Shikaya Vasate, Kavachaya Hum, Netrabhyam or Netratrayaya, if you're worshipping a deity with 3 eyes, right? Like Narasimha or something like that. Astraya Pate, Om Bur Bhavasuvaha, Iti Digbandaha. If you at the end of the puja, you will say Om Bur Bhavasuvaha, Iti Digvimokaha, right? And normally when people make this, do the Digbandaha, they go clockwise around the head. snapping the fingers, right? When they do the Digvimokkha, they go anti-clockwise around the head, snapping the fingers to open up the directions. And you meditate that the force field is taken down. The mantric force field is taken down around you. Okay, so that's the end of worship. So now some Vaishnava groups like Madhvas and Sri Vaishnavas, they don't tend to do the pranayama and the anganyasa at the end. Whereas in South India, the Smartas, they do it. So here we see that the Gaudiya Vaishnava version is more or less to follow the system. Probably this system is coming from Pramadipika again, which is our basic book that we're following here in Hari Bhakti Vilas for the worship of Lord Krishna according to the Gopal mantra. So it's probably written like that in Pramadipika. We'd have to go and check Pramadipika to see. But in any case, there's nothing wrong with doing it. There's nothing wrong with doing the pranayama and the saranganyasa at the end, just like the Smartas do in South India. Okay, it's like that. All righty. So, but according to one sampradaya, one can follow the system. Here is specifically mentioned in Hari Bhakti Vilas to do it. So therefore, it should be done if you're going to try to follow this system. Now, the process of worship to be adopted, text 501. Ata puja vidi vivekaha. Puja vidi vivekaha. Vivekaha means a discussion about the puja vidi, right? So this is going to be some general rules and things like that, or principles for us to remember about worship, about the external system of worship. Whatever processes that were described so far should be diligently followed so that one can achieve perfection of chanting mantras, right? So it's specifically said here that one should follow this system of deity worship, right? And it will help us to attain the siddhi or the perfection of chanting of the mantra, japasya, right? So the japa siddhi should be done with the different angas, the different bhakti angas, including nyasa, right, which is done here. So in the Gaudiya Math, Keshav Maharaj has written in his Archana Padati, like that these are all parts of what he calls Japanga Archana, which is not the type of Raganuga Bhakti that Gaudiya Vaishnavas should perform. And he doesn't like mudras, he doesn't like pranayama, and he doesn't like nyasas. So he says we shouldn't do those things. However, here, this is the actual statement of Hari Bhakti Vilas saying that these things are important for attaining the perfection of the mantra. So you can either take, you have to follow whatever your acharya is telling you, whatever your guru is telling you, whatever your lineage is telling you, like that. But at the same time, here directly in Hari Bhakti Vilas, it's saying that you should diligently do whatever is said here if you really want to get the actual siddhi or the perfection of the mantra. And what mantra are we talking about again? Once again, it's the Diksha mantra, which was given to the person by the guru in initiation in the second Vilas, and which is the Gopal mantra, which is the main mantra for the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, which is given to every Gaudiya Vaishnava in initiation or in Vaishnava Diksha. The Gopal mantra, the 18-syllable Gopal mantra, Kim Krishnaya Govindaya Govindala Vallabhaya Swaha. So if one wants the perfection, and more about attaining the perfection is going to be said later on in the 17th chapter of Hari Bhakti Vilas, which is about Puruscharana or Puruscharya, which is a more intensive process of attaining perfection in the mantra, a mantra siddhi. But here, it specifically said the mantra siddhi can come about by adopting all of these angas, by adopting all of these different aspects, right? Mudra, nyasa, pranayamaha, right? All of these different things which are mentioned here, like that. So that's why they're called here in this verse, bhakti angas, angas of bhakti or limbs of bhakti. Unlike Keshav Maharaj, he calls them japangas. Well, even if they're called japangas, that means they're limbs of japa. Okay, so they're limbs of japa. I don't know why. I'm not sure why Gaudiya Math people are against these things. Maybe they take a long time to do. Maybe they add a lot of time and effort and intricacy to the worship, and therefore they're not considered. They want to get to the main thing. The main part of the worship is actually worshiping the deity and worshiping the deity and chanting the holy name. So maybe they just want to get to the main part like that. But these subsidiary parts are what are the niceties that help us to gain the city of the mantra city, the perfection of the mantra. So anyway, right, now in the second part, it says also, on the other hand, there's no hard and fast rules for performing procedures such as nyasa for devotees who worship the Lord in devotional service. Okay, so that's his translation of what that says. Okay, so, okay, maybe we can say that. We can say that somebody who really loves the Lord, he doesn't have to follow all these rules and regulations. That is it. That's a hint here that there might be somebody who's performing Raganuga Bhakti just according to his feelings and not strictly following all of the limbs or all the details. Okay, continuing on, it says worship of the deity in the temple can be an eternal function of the worshiper. It should be done daily, right? Or it can be performed for some ulterior motive, right? So this is kamya tvenapi, right? So he can do it for some specific reason, some specific benefit that he wants from the Lord. However, worship of the Lord within one's house must not be discontinued, right? So we can either go and we can worship the Lord in the temple, and we can do it either out of pure devotional service, or we can do it with some expectation of some benefit from the Lord. But in any case, the worship in our house should continue, right? Text 503. One should follow all the rules and regulations relating to the service of the Supreme Lord while worshiping him in the temple. This is referring to what I said, Rajupachara, or kingly worship in the temple. In one's house, however, one can worship him according to one's capacity. So if somebody's very poor or if somebody doesn't have certain things, it's not a problem in the house worship. We just offer some substitute things, or we just by mantra only or by meditation only we worship the Lord. Whereas in the temple, we have the temple just like in a palace of a king. Everything has to be arranged. Everything has to be given, and we have to take all efforts to do that nicely and to do that in a very rich and kingly fashion. The point to be noticed here is that one should not break any vow that one has made in the course of his worship to the Lord. So we're not saying that one should. Okay, so we have temple worship, we have house worship. We're not saying that one should give up temple worship because it says here that one has to continue to do his house worship, his own personal worship. We're not saying we should give up temple worship. We're just saying that Rajupachara in the temple is harder because we have to get certain things. We have to get certain things right. In the house, according to our own capacity, what time we have, what capacity we have, what wealth we have, we can offer that sort of worship to the Lord. If it's very little, it's very little. That's still accepted by the Lord. Whereas in the temple, we have to be very careful to offer only the highest quality and properly done and at the right time. Everything has to be done correctly. Okay, so continuing on, text 504 to 508 from Vishnu Dharmotara, it said, one should bathe Lord Vishnu by pouring ghee over him and then apply sandalwood paste to his transcendental body. So this is exactly a prayoga that we should pour ghee and then put sandalwood paste over the deity right after the ghee. There's different prayogas, there's different procedures, but in any case, during the bathing of the Lord, we can also bathe the Lord with ghee. We could also apply sandalwood paste on his body like that. Then one should offer white flowers. Remember in the section about flowers in the 7th Vilasa, it mentioned that white flowers with fragrance are the best type of flowers to get. Dress him in white with white clothes with a chadar. So sometimes we dress the Lord in different colors. So just because it says here to dress him in white clothes, it doesn't mean we always have to dress him in white clothes. But sometimes he can also wear shining white silk clothes, right? Or even cotton, like that with a chadar, which means also a lower cloth and also an upper cloth. like that, and offer muktapala. Muktapala. Muktapala, exactly what muktapala is, we don't know. It's some sort of fruit. So there are several meanings for the word muktapala. Muktapala can mean pearls, right? Also the word mukta or mukti, right, means liberation. So it's very interesting in Sri Rangam, when they dress the deity for the Vaikuntha Ekadasi, which is the celebration of the Lord's devotee Namalwa going to Vaikuntham or attaining liberation, it's really a paradigm or an example of a devotee going to liberation for all of us, right? At that time, the Lord is dressed with pearls. So these pearls also could indicate liberation. It also could be, according to the Sanskrit dictionary, the fruit of a plant called lavali, a lavali plant. There's also some flowers and certain things that are mentioned there, but it could be fruits, it could be pearls, like that. In any case, we don't exactly know what it means here. Maybe if we looked at the commentary, it would explain Muktapalam, but it seems like the translator here also couldn't find exactly the type of Muktapala which is meant here, so he just simply put Muktapala and didn't translate it. So should offer Muktapala, incense perfumed with camphor, milk, sweet rice, and a lamp with ghee wicks. So it seems here also, when it's talking about that one should offer, one should bathe the deity in ghee and sandalwood, and then offer sandalwood paste, and then dress him, offer white flowers and dress him in white clothes with a white chadar. But then one should also offer Muktapala, incense, milk, sweet rice, a lamp with wicks. This sounds very much like Pancha Puja or Ganda Pushpa Drupa Deepa Naivedya. Ganda being sandalwood paste, Pushpa meaning flowers, Drupa meaning incense, Deepa meaning ghee wicks, and Naivedya meaning food offerings, so such as milk and sweet rice. It's very much like that. So sometimes also the Smartas in South India, after they finish everything, they'll also offer these five items again as on top of the worship, after the worship, like that. Of course, probably not before the Visarjana, when we valedict the deity or bid farewell to the deity, but Pancha Puja is also something which can be offered apart from offering all the other items, the Soda Supachar, the 16 articles of worship. So this kind of worship awards all benediction to the devotee. It is certain. Here we're just talking in general about worship, general principles of worship. So we shouldn't really read too much into this as to it coming after, because we finished. We already did the Visarjana of the external deity. So therefore we're not bothered as that this is going. This is part of the worship that we've already finished. Right. These are just some extra, general principles that are being explained. This kind of worship awards all benediction to the devotee. It is certain that one who worships the deity in this way will get quick relief from all diseases. So if you are diseased, you can worship the deity and you can pray for being freed from that disease. That's possible. A distressed person will become happy and a prisoner will be freed. So again, we're getting these different, slightly different, benedictions or palashrutis, the fruits of doing the different worship is being explained. As a result of such worship, a criminal can avoid punishment by the king's men. And a traveler can wander about anywhere he likes without fear or danger. So it's sometimes when we're traveling, we have to worry about being mugged or attacked by bandits or something like that. We don't have to do that if we worship the Lord. These are all benedictions. So this brings us to the end of the translation of the 8th Vilasa of Hari Bhakti Vilas.